Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video on Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert, the son of Tommy Gilbert, legendary wrestler, and we're going to be looking at Eddie's, I think this is part 2 of Eddie Gilbert. And Jack, let's go ahead and start his matches that he had, starting in 1980.
April the 2nd of 1980 at Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Des Moines, Iowa. Chiho, I think that's the way you say it, and Pak Song defeated Pat O'Connor and Eddie Gilbert. Then on the 3rd, Memorial Hall in Kansas City, Kansas, Pak Song and Takachino defeated Rufus R, Freight Train Jones, and Eddie Gilbert. Then on the 17th, Memorial Gymnasium in Rome, Georgia, Eddie Gilbert versus Joe Powell, winner unknown. And then the 19th of April, Mid-South Auditorium in Griffin, Georgia, Eddie Gilbert defeated Bobby Garrett. And then for the GCW TV taping in Atlanta on the 19th, WTBS Studios, Ivan Koloff and Alexis Smirnoff defeated Eddie Gilbert and Mike Davis. And then on the 20th, in the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, Eddie Gilbert defeated Jim Nelson. Then on the 22nd, Macon Coliseum, Macon, Georgia, Bob Sweetan and Eddie Gilbert ended without a winner as a time limit draw. And then on the 23rd, Municipal Auditorium in Columbus, Georgia, Charlie Fulton versus Eddie Gilbert ended without a winner at a time limit draw. The 24th of April, Memorial Gymnasium in Rome, Georgia, Eddie Gilbert defeated Rocket Monroe. And then on April the 29th, 1980, Macon Coliseum, Macon, Georgia, Eddie Gilbert and Tenryu ended without a winner as a time limit draw.
You know, you have to look at this. Eddie Gilbert had only been wrestling over a year. Look at what he gets to team with Pat O'Connor. That had to be such a big deal for Eddie Gilbert to team with Pat O'Connor. Pat O'Connor, by the way, owned part of the territory at that time. So, you know, that had to be great. And look at the people he got to. Rufus R. Jones, which was really over in the Kansas City.
Yeah.
Loved him in Kansas City. And then he comes to Atlanta. The first time Jack was saying Eddie Gilbert goes against Joe Powell. Joe Powell, the fake Mr. Wrestling 2. That he becomes that. Bobby Garrett was a great wrestler. People probably remember him. He got suplexed by Ric Flair, broke his arm on television. You know, that was horrible. We were there. Look at Eddie Gilbert gets the team with Mike Davis. Mike Davis was just coming up, a great wrestler. Jim Nelson and the Omni. Jim Nelson would later become Boris Zukov.
Yep.
Or Zirkov. It didn't matter whichever one you went. Whichever territory he was in.
He was also Private Jim Nelson, right?
Private Jim Nelson.
Non-Carnoodle with Sergeant Slaughter.
And look at Bruiser Bob Sweetan, greatest pile driver in the history of professional wrestling. Yep. Charlie Fulton, a man that don't get any credit for as a great wrestler he was.
One of the best workers of that era.
And Rocket Monroe. Yeah. Look at that. He has a match with Rocket. The people, no wonder Eddie Gilbert became as good as he was.
And I can personally testify to the Charlie Fulton Eddie Gilbert match because I was there that night, and I remember how great that was.
I mean, just tremendous. Just you know, Eddie Gilbert was great back then. And Rodney, let's go ahead and pick up from the Omni in Atlanta.
Okay, we got the Omni. We're on May the 4th, 1988. It's Bob Sweetan defeating Eddie Gilbert. Then we go to the Municipal Auditorium on the 14th of May, 1980. It's Bob Sweetan and the French Angel versus Mike Sharp and Eddie Gilbert, winner unknown there. Then we're back at the TV studios at TBS on May 17th. Ivan Koloff, Alexis Smirnoff defeated Eddie Gilbert and Ricky Pierce. In that one, I guarantee it was Ricky Pierce going down in that one. May 18th, 1980 at the Omni in Atlanta. Kevin Sullivan and Eddie Gilbert defeated Tio and Tapu. And it was at Municipal Auditorium on June the 6, 1980, Columbus, Georgia. Eddie Gilbert versus Eddie Mansfield. It ended without a winner, as a time limit draw. Then at the Omni in Atlanta on June 8, 1980, Terry Taylor defeated Eddie Gilbert. Bell Auditorium, Augusta, Georgia, great building. That's on June the 9th, 1980. Mark Lewin defeated Eddie Gilbert. Then we're back at the TBS studios in Atlanta. It's June 14th, 1980. It's the Assassins defeating Eddie Gilbert and Jim Nelson. Memorial Gym in Rome, Georgia on June 19th, 1980. It's Eddie Gilbert versus Kid Collins, winner unknown. I think we also called Kid Collins Mr. Spaghetti Head.
I think we did. Yes, we did. Also, by the way, Iron Mike Sharp, me and Rodney called him Rusty Mike Dull.
That's right.
The
thing about it is, we saw at that point when Eddie came to Georgia, we saw nothing but money with Eddie Gilbert. We felt that he should have been pushed all the way to the top because he was just that good, and he was able to sell at like nobody's business. Just awesome. I think he could have been a huge star in Georgia, but I think it was just a stop off. It just seems like it was.
Yeah, because I think he leaves and goes to the WWF after this.
Right.
I'm truly believe I didn't get that far on the because I knew we only had about 10 minutes for this segment, but also someone that he wrestled, and Jack, I send you a point. Columbus, Georgia. Municipal Auditorium on June 4th, 1980. Eddie Gilbert against Eddie Mansfield. Everybody knows who Eddie Mansfield is. Jack, fill us in a little bit.
Eddie Mansfield was fantastic. And I remember that match. It's the only Eddie Mansfield match I ever saw live. I don't remember him ever. He may have been there a time or two after that, but I was getting close to shipping out to Germany at this point. So, but I love that match. And I just remember Eddie selling to the point where I was thinking Tommy Rich wishes he was this good.
Yeah.
And Tommy Rich, we all know how over Tommy Rich was, but Eddie was just at another level.
Yeah, Eddie was so good. By the way, Eddie Mansfield would be very instrumental in doing a 2020. Let's remember that. Eddie Mansfield did.
Yes.
Yeah, so became
not
very
the way
famous.
you do it, by the way, if y'all want to look it up. That is not the way you do it.
But Eddie would do that. But Eddie Gilbert was so good. And I think WWF were on the way of making him a tag team champion before he had his accident that he had, car accident that he had.
It was awesome. Eddie would ride with us. Probably most of these shows he was riding with us, and Eddie had so much wrestling history. I mean, he was a real student of the business.
Yes, I agree. Richard Hood said that I like the Wayne and Gilbert angle that presented Eddie Gilbert to the wrestling world. Yes, and you know, at first he was called Tommy Gilbert Jr. And that didn't go too well. Robert Grice is with us, Dr. Philbo Grice.
Yes,
joining the show. Thank you so much. And Robert Grice also said, I remember Eddie Gilbert indulged at one time when he was a heel. Normally, 1988. I think he was there in 1989. Also, Richard Hood said what made Eddie great was that he was a fan first before getting in the business. Yeah. And I think we all agree. If you got to respect the wrestling fans for the one thing, and you can only respect the wrestling fans if you are a wrestling fan, and I think you enjoy the business more if you are a wrestling fan. If you've enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up. Subscribe to the page if you haven't already, and do one step further, hit that notification bell. And until the next video on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.